Have you ever been gaming or working online classes and your internet service constantly gets interrupted? First Nations Fiber is about to ensure that just won't happen again. Get ready for high speed at a new level. Click on fnfiber.com and sign up today. First Nations Fiber, empowering people through connectivity.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Beading Table with your hosts, the Yakwa Stand-Up and myself, Leith Makiwa. We are primed and ready for the spring season. Some people call it spring fever. So with that being said, Yakwa, why don't you let us know what is going on with you? We haven't talked for a while.
Yeah, we've been gone for long now.
Almost a month, yeah.
Yeah. What's up with me? Nothing really.
Oh my God, that's like not a topic.
I have no grad orders, so I'm lying. I have just one medallion that's due June 1st. And I have just a deadline for a pair of moccasins that were a raffle.
You and your looming raffle.
There's only two, and they're one's 50%, the other one's 85% done.
What's up, bad then?
So yeah, they're going to be done this month. And then I'm really free. I want to start looking at Ganondagan stuff. Because I got to bring it. No.
Is that the first show you're going to do since that one you did at
100 years
Six
ago?
Nations?
Yeah.
Yeah. With that bear, yeah.
Done anything. Yeah, so I'm going to be doing that. And I want to start my mother's stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And that's it, really. Oh, well, yeah. And I just want to do whatever I want. So I have a whole bunch of things prepped. Oh, I started a new thing, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. I was experimenting and I started doing tie-dye stuff. So that was pretty interesting and I'm loving it. I just had to put it on the back burner right now because I got to get the other stuff done. But I have all kinds of ideas for that. So
and you even had a paint night too, didn't you? That kind of looked like a tie-dye background.
Yeah, we just did one the other night. They were my guinea pigs. It was my first time doing it. It looked like it was watercolor.
Yeah, it looked really nice. Yeah,
and it's kind of hard to do on a canvas because it doesn't absorb like a watercolor paper would.
Yeah.
So I had to just kind of rearrange a little bit.
But was it dye though? Like Rit dye?
No. It was
paint.
Yeah, it's just paint, but it's just the delivery of it was different. You have to really wet the canvas and whatever. But the only thing is because it doesn't absorb, you have to really we had to let it run off and then take some of the water off the canvas and things like that. So it was different, but it was good. It was really fun. So yeah, that's all that's going on with me.
But that tie-dye thing, so what was the response to that? Did people like it?
Well, nobody said it was ugly, but I don't know if they would tell me to my face, but I'm sure it's not everyone's bag tea. But the other responses that I got were really good. A lot of people liked it. Doug and I did the sale at the craft fair thing. And it went the two that I had two available. They sold instantly. People were kind of ready to fight for those two. But yeah, I've had a lot of good feedback on it. And I had only a few colors of the dye at first. So a lot of them were the same. Not too long ago, I started experimenting with actual colored velveteen. Because the first ones I did were on that bleachy, parchment-y looking velveteen. Okay. It was an off-white. So now I started on a yellow. Okay. It's a lighter. So I want to start just trying to see what I can do with the colored ones that I have too, and if it'll show up or not. But I dyed them, but I don't have time right now to pursue doing something with it to see where it's going to go next. So, but yeah, I'm excited. After this month, I think that's what I'm going to start doing is doing more projects with the tie-dye and just whatever I want. So I have some ideas.
Awesome.
Yes. And you, how is it all going?
Is going excellent. So I officially got accepted to the Santa Fe New Market. So that was good. So that's going to be in August, towards the second or third week. The third week of August. So that's good. But I don't really have time right now to think about what I'm going to make or anything. And I don't even know if I'm going to make anything huge, like a really hush-hush project. I might just make stuff that I kind of perfected and just kind of things like that, just because I don't know. It seems like it's already a busy summer. It seems like the summer is already over. I also got word that I was selected for a new position to be part of something really big for me anyway. And I can't really say what exactly it is yet, just because it hasn't been officially announced. So I don't want to step on anybody's toes or anything. But yeah, so there's going to be some new movement. And so in the next podcast, I'll hopefully be able to talk more about that. But it's really taking a chance on myself and doing stuff with art, like really, really dedicating lots of time to it. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, like I'm just doing my regular thing. I had an order I took on last year, like towards, I guess it must have been November, to make a piece. And they said you could do whatever you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, then. And so I was waiting, and I just didn't know exactly what to do. I thought I was going to make a vase. I had designed a vase. I thought I was going to do something else. And I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then I cut out a pair of vamps. And I thought, well, maybe I'll do this for I was thinking I'll do this in preparation for Santa Fe. Maybe I'll just prep some vamps and different things like that. And with the hopes that I would have gotten in. So I had these vamps prepped, and then I don't know how it just started. It just started where I started designing, and then the colors seemed to come it was the Masters, and I grew up my dad used to watch the Masters all the time. He watched golf. He was a golf person. And so I remember that. And so I don't guess I was scrolling or something, and I saw it was on, and I started thinking about it. And then I saw this picture of this, I wrote, what is the most difficult hole at the Masters, or one of them difficult? And they said between, I think, 12 and 13 or something was the holes that were pretty hard at the Augusta Golf, I think it's Augusta National, I think it's called, golf club. And so I went and I pulled colors from that one picture of this one hole. It's called Golden Bell. And then I just started to do the greens and the stuff that I saw on the picture. And it just came out really good. And I made a pair of moccasins. And then in between the moccasins and realizing I hadn't started the cuff part, because I wanted to make a really kick-ass pair of moccasins, just because it was this order, and I thought, I'm just going to go all out and do it. And so I didn't have anything prepped, but I still had some small stabilizer and a small piece of velvet. So I made a medallion. And so then I made a medallion to go with the moccasins. And I was just I said, it just came all together, and then the cuffs came together, and I started, I think it was the first week of May. And I said, I'm going to finish it. Well, I told the person, I said, I'm going to try to, the first week of April. I'm going to try to finish it for before May. And I got it done right on May 30th.
Mm-hmm.
So I called her up. Yeah, April 30th. Yeah. And I called her up on May 1st, and I was just they're done. There you go. Get it out of my hands. And it was a rainy day, and I had to put the bag in a garbage bag. It kind of looked
hide it.
As the young kids would say, it kind of looked kind of sketch or sus.
Oh God.
And so I dropped it off, and that was done. And I started right away with my daughter's outfit. So I started sewing. I cut out all her ripped dress, her Oneida ripped dress. I was really skeptical. I've made dresses before, Oneida ripped dresses, but I was just oh man, I just have this little bit of fabric. I mean, not that I had a little bit of fabric, but if I made a mistake, and then what if I went back to the store and I didn't have the fabric and all this, all that kind of stuff. And I just started, and then had the intention to keep going to the store, go to the store and start sewing in the space, my office. And I just never did. And I just did the whole thing by hand. It was just easier.
Yeah.
And then I looked at it, and I realized one of the biggest things, the ripped dress is basically the main part of the dress is one giant rectangle. And the rectangle is folded in half, and where the half is, that's where you make the hole for the head.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is, because women's bodies, or bodies in general, normally aren't just a big square, you have to add, not a gather, but you have to pull in to make the shape of the back, to make that silhouette that you want.
Mm-hmm.
And after I finished every darn stitch, I realized I didn't do the shaping for the dress. And I was like, Jesus. And I kind of got I yelled at even my son goes, stop, why are you swearing? I'm like, don't worry about it. I ended up fixing it now, and it's done. When I look at it, it still looks too, doesn't look as shapely as I want it to. And usually what happens is, a lot of people say that an Oneida style dress is just a big dress kind of, because it's a different style. It's not like the smoke dance where it's cut in the middle and it's just flaring kind of thing. But my daughter hasn't tried it on yet. So she's going to try it on this afternoon, and hopefully it fits how it is and how it's supposed to. And if it doesn't, it's no big deal, because then I can just take it all apart and then just use the machine to sew it real fast.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to really see how it looked, and I just couldn't wait till I got to get my machine out, and because it's at the store. So I was just oh man. But so I'm doing that, and then for that dress, it has a long panel that goes in the front of the dress, in the middle, and then on the bottom there's a panel, and then there's tabs, because there's gussets on each side and in the back. And so I have to do all that beading, and I have to do a yoke, and I have to do I put my head on the microphone because I have to do my leggings, I have to do the skirt, and I got to do my nephew's thing. My nephew's also graduating, so I got to do his shirt and his moccasins. And so I'm like down to the crunch. Like I have I think it's the 18th, not the 18th. I think it's like maybe the second or third week of June is the graduation.
Usually, yeah.
So I have like a month and 1 week, let's say, like really to get my ass in gear. And I have so much stuff going on with my other work, and it's just like, but it'll get done. I'm not really like worried.
It's just crunch time.
Just crunch time. But I think like that's what it is. Like everyone, I think a lot of people right now are in that boat. Well, I hope some people are also in that boat with me, because
everyone's in
I
that
don't want to
boat.
be paddling upstream by myself, but a lot of people are trying to get their things done for like,
it's grad season.
For grad season. It's that season of the beading crunch time. And then
upon us.
Yeah. So
I'm like really loving this year that I don't have that like that pressure or stress or whatever.
Yeah.
But I just have that one where I'm kind of like, okay, I could probably do that in 2 days maybe.
Like I'm glad it's my family that's a stress.
Yeah.
It's because it feels different when it's like an order. Like, because I really was like, oh my God, I got to get this thing done. And like I said, it was in November she had made this order, and I was just like, ugh.
Yeah.
But it all came together. Everything came together for this thing. But yeah.
Lovely. Lovely.
So anything else you want to talk about outside of what the meat of the...
Well, I don't know. I'm sure something will come up as we go.
This comes from a lady who's like, walks in. I'm like, you ready? She's like, everything's in my head. And now it's like...
Well, you got your book.
I got my book. So what I wanted to talk about was a little bit of things that we didn't get to touch on last time we had taped our podcast. And one of the questions it came through Instagram, was what inspires a title for your work? And then the person goes on to say, I know it could be anything, but it would be nice to hear how you choose some of your titles.
I'm laughing because I hate this.
And you rarely do it at all, I don't think.
I don't, because I hate it. I find, like sometimes the whole stereotype of Ngwahuma people is like how, like this morning I listened.
Heard it through the wind.
The wind whistled and told me my life's purpose. Like that kind of hokey pokey stuff that I don't like how everyone thinks that's, and to a certain extent, sometimes yes, because our language is very descriptive. So yes, when things translate, it does sound that way, but it doesn't mean that we constantly live that way. Like I find sometimes having to pick like names kind of sounds like that, or I don't know. It's like how you feel with the medicine, like beading is medicine. It's that kind of vibe to me where I feel the same, where I'm like, I don't know. So yeah, most of the times I don't pick unless it's like something official and I have to, like when I've been in that show, or I had my own art shows years ago. So it's like they want names. Everybody wants a name to it. So I don't know. I like very simple things. I don't want to read like a full story and a big ass description. Like it's a picture of a bear and whatever. And it's like the mother bear feeding her come along. Like, I don't give a shit. It's like something simple, fast and easy, because I don't really care about doing that. So that's fine.
That's good.
Yeah.
I name a lot of my stuff now.
Yeah.
Just because like you said, like when I started going to shows, you have to have a title for your stuff. And so I always have a title just because I think I don't ever know where it's going to go, or, it's just something, and the one that comes to mind right now is I beaded a purse 2020, and I ended up taking it to Herb Museum. It ended up getting sold, not at the museum, but actually, did I take it to the museum? No, I didn't take it. I took it to Santa Fe. It never sold. I brought it home and it sold. And it was called Heard It Through the Canyon. So I started it it must have been in January 2020, just after my father had passed away. And it was like a really nice dark brown. And then I had pulled all these like really nice earthy colors. And it kind of went with a photo that I had taken I took of my son and I at the Grand Canyon after the funeral. We had gone there. And so I had this thing just sitting there. And I didn't do anything with it or nothing like that. And then I ended up getting selected for the Indian market. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And so then I started beading a little bit. And the whole time I was beading this, I was watching... dare I say, the Amber Heard and the Johnny Depp divorce hearing.
That's right.
I wasn't actually watching it during real time, but I was watching it through YouTube. Like I watched the whole darn thing. And so what I ended up calling it, because it had to do with the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
And I said,
Amber Heard.
I wrote, and that's what it was. It was called I Heard It Through the Canyon. And people probably think, like, oh my God, it's so nice because it looks just like a Grand Canyon. But it really has to do with the fact that that's what was like
what you were doing,
keeping me on task, was watching this thing. Every time I beaded, I turned it on. I never watched it outside of the beading part of it. And funny enough, the person who bought it also said they watched the trial too.
Oh yeah.
And so
I spoke to them.
Well, I mean, obviously she didn't know when she bought it at the time that that's what it meant. But when I told her the story, she's like, yeah, I watched it too. And whatever, how crazy it was and all this stuff. And so it was like one of the funny things, like, you know, I try to always pull from somewhere. And like that last pair of moccasins I made that are based on like the Masters tournament, it's called A View from the Green. Mm-hmm. So if you were looking out from the green, you would see all of the stuff that you would probably see on those moccasins kind of thing. So but I do. And sometimes, a lot of times when you go to the show, you have to talk. You don't have to like write a full like paragraph when you're giving a title.
You have to give your descriptions though.
But you have to like make it up.
Yeah.
If it's made up, and usually it's made up for me. Like,
and that's the hard part is like the schmoozing and all that. That's the part I just don't like and I can't stand, because a lot of the times people want this big magical story and it's like, that's in your head. That's not really how it is. Like I just sat there and I did it. Yeah. Like, you know, like it's not anything magical, which sometimes people find disappointing. Like they want this big whole grand scheme of it all. And it's like, oh my God, you know, like your thing is so beautiful. Where did you get, did you pull all this? And and you're like, I don't know. Like I bought a dish towel and I like the colors on it. So I don't know. To me, it's like the reality of a lot of it, you know? So I don't know.
Yeah, but that's like
maybe
you said,
I'm cynical.
No, I don't think so. I think it's I think it's that smooching part. A lot of times too, it's like you put in the effort to let them know what it is that, like, to answer their question, and they say, "Oh yeah, okay, nice," and then it's like you did that whole brain dump of all this stuff, and it was like, you know, and it probably was good. I mean, probably was like a real like response or whatnot, like, you know, in terms of like the authenticity of it all. And it's just like, okay, thanks, like, you know, it's just like, then you got to do that, but it's like
you got to do it 20 times.
It's mentally draining. It like sucks sometimes the life out of you, because it becomes like this thing somebody wants to know they like whatever it is they're seeing. But it's just like, you're also telling them, because if you're at a market or a craft fair or wherever, the idea is that you're sitting there because you want to sell your stuff. Mm-hmm. So not like a car salesman, but kind of like you got to sell your stuff. You got to sell yourself. Yeah. And it's just, it's just difficult, but
yes.
Okay. So there's another question, but it's kind of in depth, so I'm going to kind of leave it to the end. If not, we won't even answer it today. But how do you go back and finish a beadwork project you started years ago? And I guess if your style has changed or improved.
Oh, that's hard, I find. So you either rip it all out, or you throw it in the garbage, or you just keep on trucking. Like,
have you had to do one like that before?
Yeah. There's one actually sitting in my closet. I had started a vase about almost like 4 years ago now. Mm-hmm. And I look at the beadwork and it's not the same as what I'm doing now. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, within a year, things can change, you know? So I look at it and I'm like, this looks like trash, but it's almost done. So now what? So I'm just avoiding it, and it's just sitting in my closet. So I don't know. It's hard unless you kind of coin it as a progression piece, or you can see everything, like the differences and how things changed as you go through it. I don't know. But if you're really unsatisfied with it, you either restart, make a whole new one, or you rip some of it out. Like minus the flowers, the way the flowers look are not what I do now. And it kills me a little bit to look at it. So I probably won't finish it.
You should give it to your daughter for her to finish.
Yeah. It might be one of those pieces I just leave. Yeah. So that's kind of how I deal with it. I don't know. There's a lot that are sitting in there, and they'll probably never see the light of day just because I've moved on.
Yeah. I had one project I only had one project. I had made a pair of moccasins a long time ago. It wasn't supposed to be for an order, but the pair I ended up making was based on this other pair. And so I had beaded 2 strawberries on each vamp. And for some odd reason, when I went to go finish, I could only find one vamp. And I was like, man, like, where's this other vamp? And I had this one vamp sitting there for a long time. And one of my cousins, she ended up having to have her leg amputated. And I ended up making these moccasins for her just because she's like a really strong lady, and she's like so dedicated and committed to, like, she's a teacher, so she was dedicated that to her family, and not letting like anything, like not letting her health or the fact that the circumstances change like her positive outlook on life, you know? And so I used that one vamp and I made her one moccasin, and it ended up working out. I'm like, oh my God, like, you know, I only have one, it's meant for her. And so yes, the beadwork was a little bit different, but like I said, it was only one strawberry, so I was able to do like whatever else I wanted to afterwards, and that was nice. And then what happened was I found the other vamp, and so I made another moccasin for another person who had their leg amputated. Oh. And so it ended up being like it was meant to be.
Yeah.
because it wasn't a pair at the time.
Yeah.
And it was like they were just like
Found their home.
They found their homes, yeah, and so that's what I ended up doing. But I know what you mean, like in terms of having it maybe not kind of jive with your style now, kind of. I don't know. I still have an unfinished crown, even though I'm not really a fan of crowns. But back in the day when everyone first started, there was like certain like items that people would bead. They would be crowns, it would be picture frames, moccasins, that kind of stuff. And I don't see crowns so much, but back then, like in the early 2000s, late 90s, you saw a lot of people wearing crowns. And so I have one that's done, and it's like maybe my second piece I ever made, maybe, really. And so what I did is I just did the rope stitch around it. I never finished it because I don't know if I'll ever will. I'm not really, not to say that I'm not satisfied. It's okay. Like the beadwork looks okay, but it's just the actual item. Why would I have a crown? But anyway, so.
That's how I think with certain things where it's like a lot of times people will be like, oh my God, you should do this and whatever. And I'm a realist, I guess, if that's the right word, like where if it's not a functional piece or it's not something that like jives with me, if it's just, I'm a minimalist on top of it. So it's like just random things, like I ain't gonna make it, like unless you're gonna get some kind of a use out of it, or then I don't care to make it. Like if it's just gonna be like a whimsy, not a whimsy, I like whimsies because they're decorative, but just junk stuff. Not junk, I don't know how to say it, but you know what I mean, like just random.
Non-functional, just got tota, like music, look at stuff.
So I just don't make randoms,
okay. So we had posed a question at the end of last, I think, the podcast, and we were talking about medicine, but you didn't write medicine, or I didn't write medicine. It says, describe how beading impacts your life. And I just wanted to share some of the responses from our listeners because they took their time to let us know. So so I'm going to just read them just one by one. And if you have anything to say, you can
jump on it, share
to the heart's content. So the question was, describe how beading impacts your life. One listener says, it sounds so crazy. One listener said, is for like some like actual podcast. So one said that it helps me focus when I'm feeling anxious. And I think we talked about anxiety before and that kind of thing and regulating. Okay. It says, it depends on the project, but normally it's really a therapeutic hobby for me. I see beadwork as a connection to my Ganyankahaga culture. I aspire to learn. I'm just a beginner, but I'm old. LOL.
But I'm old.
Helped me to keep my bills paid at one time, which is for a lot of people. That's what happens. It makes me feel more connected to my roots while living far from home or from relatives. And it's a space of clarity and creativity. Nothing else matters when I'm in the beading mode. So that was just some of the things that people had to say.
Very cool.
About that. So yeah. Now, did you want to talk about some of the things the responses to the last question?
The last question. Oh, wait, what was my question here?
I have it written down and I have responses. So if you don't know them all, then you can.
It's all in my head. I'm ready.
So, what are your thoughts on putting a sales limit for pop-up sales or fairs? An example, 2 per customer. And so, I don't even know what I wrote.
Yata.
Oh, I said no. Yeah, I said no. For my response, I'll respond since you're the actual artist who this really affects you. Like this is a question that is directly like something that.
Yeah, and it was interesting too when I post this question to see the different sides. So because there were some answers on there were from client customer point of view, and then some from vendor type of view.
Okay.
Some of them were the same and some differed. So it was interesting to read some of those answers and see where everyone's at. But yeah, so when I posted that question, it was because we just had a craft fair,
Yeah.
And in this case where we had this craft fair, I couldn't get a lot of things done like on a large scale. So it was kind of a last minute thing between Doug and I, like maybe a month. We decided, okay, let's do it. When we got there, I only had 6 items of my own. That I beaded. So once the doors open, it was a little bit crazy in there. It got we were overwhelmed a little bit, like in a good way. It was a good overwhelm, but we were still overwhelmed. We had a rush to the table. A lot of people wanted to get Douglas rings. Some people were coming for specifically for those tie-dye medallions.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening now was you have a massive crowd coming in looking for certain items. And there are times where you have people who have the means to buy everything if they want. So it was in that case. So from a business point of view, I don't care. take whatever you want, because that's the point of the sale, is that you want everyone to get, you want to sell. Yeah,
period,
you want to sell everything out. So that's the idea. The me people pleaser, my own personal bullshit, I felt bad because now that's kind of what happened. Somebody who was able to really love some of the items. So she bought 3 of them. So that's half of my stuff was gone. So, which is great though. It's not anything on anybody. I was just like, oh, well, awesome. Because I know she'll love it and she appreciates it. She'll gift it or whatever, So, but then I just felt bad for all the other people who were in line for say an hour. And I don't want to say you snooze, you lose, but I guess that's what
I said.
Yeah.
Like, cause I just was reading my text message because you wrote, I wrote a question. I'm like, oh yeah, what? And then you wrote this one. I'm like, personally, I said I wouldn't cap it.
Yeah.
And then I said, well, for one, because same thing with the beads, like supply and demand, right? Like you keep, not that you're intentionally, because you're not intentionally keeping the supply low because you said you obviously had not enough time.
Yeah, you just can't do it.
But in business, you keep the supply low and the demand is high. And the idea in business is to make money. It's a little bit difficult sometimes when you're working in a small community because then mostly everybody who's buying from you and you don't want to be like, you don't have it. But then later on I said, well, you snooze, you lose. And it's not to be like, well, it's just how it is.
Yeah.
Like you go somewhere and you want that last salad and it's not there. Oh, well, it's not there.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? You can't be,
That's what it is. Yeah.
It's hard, but it's hard because you know people and people are waiting and and you just have to wait and you have to just...
And I always try to bring myself back to the idea of what would Walmart do? Like Walmart ain't going to feel bad. They don't care if one person goes there and buys out all of their electronics. They don't give a shit,
selection or their Walmart great value all dressed chips. And you know who you are and going to walk in. You buy all those all dressed chips.
And find them. But like that, so it's like I have to pull myself back a lot of the times. Like it is business, you know, like, at some point I will do another sale. I will have more items available and, that kind of thing. So I try to reel myself back in from being over compassionate, I guess, in a sense, like, I'm so sorry. Like, because you do as an artist, sometimes you feel bad. Like, like I wish I could give, have stuff for everybody. But, it takes time. It takes a lot of time. So I was in agreement with a lot of the people who said you don't cap.
Yeah.
Like there are certain circumstances, but like it is business. And somebody had made a point too, where it's kind of like, say I denied that one person to say, sorry, you can only buy one piece.
Yeah.
And then the next person in line comes in and realizes the price of it and can't.
And then you lost a sale.
And then you lose that sale. And then and then it sits there. So that too, business is business. You have I got to pay my bills, so that's the way it goes. So I'm in agreement too with, you can't cap. That's the point of it, is that you want to make the sales. So, but but I did feel, I was like, I'm sorry, it's gone, but it is what it is.
Yeah. So I'm just going to read some of the responses and you touched on one of them. So, but I'll because people took, like I said, people took their time to answer the question. It says, if my beadwork sold as fast as yours does, I would post for sale on here. I guess meeting, because this was on Instagram, for more buyers from outside are going to walk in. I thought that was a good point. Like, that's good too.
I would eventually like to do that too, like an online market, like a flash sale.
And they just said, spread the love. And she goes, I guess just to reiterate the point about selling online, they wrote, I wouldn't waste my time or money sitting at a craft fair, because you could do everything you did in that instant at home.
Yeah.
Instead of having to do that. But then also it's like getting to see people and all that kind of stuff.
There's an up and down though with that too, because it's like, unless you do it a lot and you don't always understand or know the hell of trying to sell shit online sometimes. Like if I post at the store, like yesterday with those gibbet things, the croc things, soon as you post, the influx comes in. And if you don't have the time to sit by your damn phone and answer, you get behind. Then you have angry people like, well, I sent you a message at this time and you're already sold out. And, there's a lot of bullshit with doing it online too. Yeah. Like it's just as bad as being at a craft fair, because you still have to really be organized. You have to be on top of the sales online. So it's the same thing no matter where you go. Either or, they have their own pros and cons. So.
And then another person said, no limit. If someone wants to purchase your beadwork, then be grateful for the sale. Imagine limiting your sale and you didn't end up making any sales.
Yeah, exactly.
And that happened. I mean, I haven't had to limit sales. But I remember going to the Herd 2020 and I didn't sell a damn thing. And not because I had no limit, just because I didn't sell anything. Thankfully, though, I had those pieces and I ended up selling them in the year of 2020 during the pandemic. So that was really good. But yeah, like I know what it's like to go, and I paid thousands of dollars to go
get there,
to get you there. And I won a ribbon and I still didn't sell anything. I was like, this is so crazy. But it ended up working out in the end. I mean, I ended up selling that vase just last year. So it took 2 years. Like that, I mean, that's one of the things, like you could sell online, you could have a limit, you could do every craft fair, and somebody still will say like, I'm not buying that thing. And you're holding on to it, holding on to that thing. And then one day somebody says, you know what? I want to buy that opulence.
Today's the day.
The world, I think it was called Global Opulence, that purse I did. Somebody just bought it last month, just in the beginning of the month. I was like, oh my God, awesome. But I still had to wait almost a whole year for it to sell. And it's just, sometimes you just got to hold on, and it's like burning, but you got to you got to do that. So, and then somebody else says, sell as you need, no limit. Pop-up sales are great. Lets everyone get a chance at it. And yeah, you have to, I don't know how long, did anybody say how long they're waiting for your sale to start? Because the doors opened at 9 or 10?
They opened at 10, but we had people I think there was a confusion at one point because we had people in the building earlier, and I had somebody come to the stand asking to buy something before 10. And I was like, I'm not ready yet. Like, I'm only opening my sales at 10. And she was like, I thought I opened at 9. So I don't know how long she was in there shopping around already, like not knowing. So she thought the sale was open at 10 and nobody was at the door to say like, sorry, it's only for vendors right now. And so that kind of thing happened. I did notice a lineup outside though. I think it started up like maybe a little after 9.
Okay.
So yeah, 9, about almost an hour. Then people were outside in line.
But that's how it is. Like, that's like when I've ever been at Traditions for a sale. That's how it is. People are lined up.
Yeah, it gets kind of crazy for sure. It depends on but it's like that, like where, low supply, high demand kind of thing. Because like last time we did it was like with Doug was the rings, because she doesn't make them that often.
Yeah. I was there. I took a video.
Yeah. So it gets kind of not so.
Yeah. But I mean, like that's where the upside of social media comes in, is where you're going to have a pop-up sale, then you can just drop like, this is what I'm selling. Yeah. People are like, oh my God, I got to get there. And everyone knows.
Too, it's like I had dropped a few other items on my social media that didn't actually make it to the sale because I didn't have the time. Like we went away right before the sale and I was away for 10 days and I had every intention of doing stuff on vacation, but that didn't happen. I think it was like the last few nights I actually beaded. So I still have I have a couple of pairs of moccasins. I have a purse, that's kind of still in shambles. So that they're almost done. Yeah. But so I'm hoping to do another one soon.
Are you doing the powwow?
Big items.
Because I know you did the powwow last year.
Yeah. Well, we don't technically do it ourselves. Like my friend Gus usually has a stand, but I don't know what the situation is this year. Like everyone had different plans and I think those plans fell through. So I don't know if, I don't know. But I don't have anything really ready.
Well, you just said you had a purse and you have moccasins.
Yeah. Well, I have to do them though. And I don't know if I want to rush to have them done for July. Because I still have whatever I have to do for June. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I would like to. Doug and I were discussing that, like eventually maybe doing our own stand together, like a nice big one. But it's hard because to do beadwork, you have to have a lot, and that obviously takes a lot of time. So maybe one day we'll have a nice big good sale.
I saw a post, I think it was Sam Jacobs, and I think it was her mother Mary was sitting at a table, and when I see when they go to the fairs and everything, they're table is full of their stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, like
how long did that take to do all of those pieces? Yeah, they have a lot.
What does your schedule look like? And I would assume this would be like the main thing you're doing, but I was just like, man, that's goals. That's goals to have that kind of stuff.
Dedication. So I wonder how they work it. If it's like each day there has to be a certain amount of time dedicated to getting something done. Yeah, because
they have a lot of things, and it's not like just like one thing. It's like various
multiples of
types of colored different things, and it's just crazy.
And they're not small pieces. Like I saw some of her picture frames, and they're bigger.
They're big. Yeah.
So
yeah,
pretty cool.
Oh, that's interesting. So
yeah.
And anything else? Anything else you got to add? because I am all out of questions and answers and notes.
And notes.
I don't think we have any controversy. Any
There
controversy?
was, but do we want to get into that? No, I don't think so.
I don't even know what it is, but I don't know what it is. Maybe we could save it for the next one. If you have any controversial topics out there, listeners,
There's always,
let us
come
know.
on now.
There's always not cheating. What's it called? Who should, who shouldn't, why should that kind of stuff.
All the fun.
But you know what is interesting is somebody wrote me, and it was interesting, is that they wrote me and said, hey, you know what? I didn't know that I was beading this and it kind of looked like something you did. And I said, you know what? Don't even worry about it. I don't own that. Somebody's did it before me.
Yeah, I just
do whatever you want. Like,
it is what it is.
And then they wrote, well, I just wanted to let you know before you saw it in social media. LOL, because we all know,
yeah,
how sometimes we can all go a little too far sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I just said no. I said I know what it's like I know like that social media thing, and don't worry about it. Like whatever.
Well,
I mean, I didn't even need a heads up, but I was just like, yeah, no, I don't gotta be. No one's accountable to me. I'm all accountable to myself.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And it's like that thing I had just posted with the cradle board thing.
Oh yeah.
Years ago when I had done like putting like some of the beads in or whatever, I felt like so unique. Like, oh my God, like I'm going to be innovative. And it was like a pretty hard process, like putting just those little pieces in and whatever. And it was hard because I even carved into the board. The board I had to it's like they're inlays. Yeah. And then and I knew that cradle board's been at my mother's. So there's another one that's been at my mother's for hundreds of years, apparently, or 100 years, more than 100 years, because it's dated 1901.
Okay.
And it's our family board.
Yeah.
So, so the beads, so the eyes on all of there's birds all on the board.
The old one, the old board,
the old one. They have beads for eyes. So I was like, son of a bitch. It's been here since 1901. Like here thought I was being all creative because I put strawberries on one board and I chiseled little holes and I smashed. I even put glue on the beads and I put it in. I was like, oh yeah, this is so different. And you look at this other board and somebody was like, yeah, it's been done.
Did I tell you that story about that board you made? I'm going to tell you a story right now.
Okay.
It's a very good one. So you made that board and you posted it somewhere. I think it was on...
There's two of them that
Facebook. I think it was Facebook a long time ago.
Yeah. The bear or the because there's two. There's a canoe.
Whichever one was the first one.
The bear.
And I saw it. And I called.
You were like, yeah, bitch.
No, I called. I called somebody. I had called somebody that I had trusted with an idea I had. And I called that person. And I was like, oh my God. And they're like, what? I said, do you know? And I didn't know you at the time. I didn't even know, I didn't know you. I mean, I know of you, but I didn't know you. Mm-hmm. I said, did you know that there's this lady who Margaret Stand-Up, this girl who did this thing? I go, oh my God, that's my idea. But it wasn't the same idea.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I said, do you know when I told you that idea, right? And this is must be 12 years ago, if not more.
Yeah, because that one was for, a while back. Because
I was working at Calico Cottage.
Yeah.
I was working at Calico Cottage because I had just gone to the herd the first time and I was like, okay. And I had this great idea. Mm-hmm. And so I called this person and said, oh my God, remember I told you that idea, but guess what? This is whatever. You know, I told you that idea this time. And it was a couple years after that you had done it, that I had this idea or whatever. And I was just like, it's not the same, is it? Is it really? I don't want to be a copier. And but that's what I did because I was like, oh my God, I saw something that was similar, but I felt like, oh man, I don't want to do this thing if somebody already did it, into how I wanted to do this thing. And now I'm going to get to do that project coming up. So that's so my little funny story is I had called it. It was nighttime, I remember, and I had seen it and I was like, oh my God, I just saw this person and she's doing this thing. And oh my God, I don't know if she put it in. Is it how it's, I had all these things because I couldn't tell from the photo because even back then, the quality of the photos weren't good. I was like, oh, what if it's the same thing and maybe she did it this way and I don't want to do the same thing as her because I don't want it to be the same. And now here we are talking about it on a podcast, the two of us together. And now we're
doing it up. Yeah. But it's a lot of work. And it was I thought I was so innovative and apparently 100 years ago they were too. So, so that's what it is with the whole claiming things. Like, it's unfortunate. Like, you can't. And I've been there. I've done it where I felt like I owned something. And then, you know what, talking with certain people though, like kind of they give you that perspective again to say like, you know, they kind of humble you and remind you like, you know what, people have been doing this for so long already. Like we've learned it somewheres. That it is what it is, you know. So you kind of just have to let go of your pride and your ego sometimes a little bit and just kind of roll with it. So it's not always easy. Sometimes you slice a humble pie. Like I've gone through it, you know. I've had things where I felt like I was pissed that I felt somebody copied it or whatever. But in hindsight now, I'm kind of like, you know what? They did recreate it into their own, even though it wasn't inspiration. And it's kind of like, oh, well, it is what it is. And you just kind of let it go after a while. So it's hard. It's not always easy.
No.
But you can't. Yeah.
That's like the artist's life, right? Like everyone learns from somebody and all that kind of stuff. Like that was like another question, but I don't know if we're going to have time for that, so we'll just leave it for the next one. But the other question was, what does beadwork mean to you? The whole process, being taught, learning new things, teaching others. That's for like next.
Yeah, that's a big one.
That's a big one. But yeah, that was somebody had asked that. What does it mean to you, the process? So, no, it's just it's a learning. It's just like anything. You just have to take it one bead at a time.
Bead at a time. Yeah. So, yeah. So I guess we will wrap her on up. We're going to do a shorter one today.
Yes, we want to say nyawa to all the help that we've gotten over the last year.
Yes.
You know who we're talking about? I don't want to say her name because, you know, you don't want to.
It'll get edited.
It'll get edited out. And we're welcoming in the new editor and sound person. So nyawa, everybody, for listening to the Beading Table. We hope you have a fabulous rest of the month of May. And we'll see you back again in what will be hopefully right before summer.
Yes.
Yay! Awesome.
And get all your grad shit done. Okay, bye.
Bye.